All right. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna, and I pray everybody is doing well. All right. Greetings and welcome back once again, everybody. I'm just checking my levels real quick, and then we're going to get into this story time. How is everybody doing today? If you are on the line, let me know that you can hear me so that we can go ahead and get this party started. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Shout out to all those who are just joining and saying, what is this channel about? What is this channel about? This channel is about a number of things, okay? Blue to the sun, welcome. Welcome to the conversation. This channel is about a number of things, but definitely make sure you subscribe. And essentially, it is about using or taking into consideration the stories of those who have come before us, the situations that we may find ourselves in today, and view them through a lens that we can possibly get some understanding and some clarity, and that we can use and learn from the stories that we're learning. So again, I've read stories from people who have been long gone, like Marcus Garvey. We've gone over Bob Marley's story. That one was pretty successful. People seem to like that one. We are currently going over Tyrese's mother's story. We have gone over in the Lev Project. We have gone on in stories of those who have been enslaved, for parents who were during the transatlantic slave trade. We've read slave narratives. I mean, you name it, we're gonna read it. You understand? And so here we are today, continuing on. So in true fashion, the last time we left off, Priscilla found her baby, and her baby was over, not Pookie and them, was over James's house with the grandmother who was doing questionable things. Grown up Jamaican, good evening. Welcome to the conversation. We're just doing a little bit of a recap. She found the baby after 6 months of searching tirelessly for her baby, her 2-month-old baby, right? He ran off with the baby for 6 months. He redirected her welfare check, and by a tip from a friend, she was able to locate the baby. But when she did, oh wow, she walked into the house. It was crazy. She said it looked like a shrine. She said it looked like some goozy type situation was going on inside the house. She brought her brother. Things got hot. Her husband hit her, according to the narrative, with a crowbar. So again, viewer discretion is advised. And she got a weapon and she used it. Okay, so he was on the floor. She absconded, okay, with the child, okay, when her brother, and now she's at her mama and them house. So let's pick it up on page 59. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might have to go from the top. I don't even remember if I put a a lot is going on. We're gonna pick it up now. I don't remember if I put this in a playlist, but if I didn't, please bear with me. I'm a little bit out of practice. For those who know, I took a little hiatus after the Marcus and Amy situation that we didn't finish, but we did get enough. So I had to take a little hiatus for that one. So I'm a little bit out of practice, but I'm getting there. So again, like and subscribe if you are just joining us. And I've been forgetting to play my commercials. So I'm going to have to introduce myself in a little bit. But for now, the meaning between time, let's get into this book. Page 59. And this book tricked me, guys. At first, I was like, oh my goodness, this is too much trauma. That's why I had to put down Marcus and Amy. And then as I kept reading, even though the trauma was more intense at the beginning, it's still there. But then I was like, dang, I want to see what happened, right? So let's continue. 59. And so let me back up a little bit. We arrived at mother's house exhausted and in a panic. Marcus took Sandra into his room to try to quiet her, and I went into the bathroom to clean myself up and try to stop the bleeding from her forehead. The bruises over her face and arms and her eyes were beginning to turn black. The gash on her forehead looked really deep, and she couldn't stop bleeding because homeboy hit her, she said, with a crowbar. She tried pressing towels on it, but her head was hurting badly. Marcus knocked on the door and brought a sandwich bag with ice in it. She sat on the toilet lid and cried and pressed the bag of ice wrapped in a towel on her forehead. Her clothes were covered with blood. She had been in the bathroom for a while when she heard a loud knock at the door. She jumped off the toilet and scared and afraid to come out the bathroom. She had no idea who was at the front door. Suddenly, the bathroom door burst open, startling her. She dropped the ice wrap on the floor. It was the popo. So remember last week I asked if you guys could guess who it was. So whoever guessed the popo was right. It was the police. 2 armed police officers stood at the bathroom door. And you know, it's funny, I was going to put that up, but I didn't want nobody to flag my YouTube. So I just went ahead and put the scared picture. Are you Priscilla Gibson? And by the way, the only person whose name in this book is the actual name is, and that's why you see Tyrese in his baby boy stance in the corner, because this is Tyrese's mother. So the only person whose name is the same, she did like an autobiographical novel, you know what I mean? In case somebody wanted to come for her. So her name is actually in real life Priscilla Gibson. Which spot were there? Are you Priscilla Gibson? One officer asked. Yes, I said as I reached down to pick up my ice wrap. Did you stab James Gibson? The officer asked. Yes, but I was defending myself. He stole my baby and he was beating me up, I said through tears. So she was honest, okay? She was like, yeah, that Negro stole the baby. And then she had to give him the 1-2. Unfazed by what she was saying or how it looked, the officer said, you're under arrest for stabbing your husband, James Gibson. And remember, all of this is happening. She's only 17, going 17, 18 years old. But he was trying to you know what I mean? To take her out, she screamed, confused about what was happening. The officer pulled his cuffs and cuffed her. After he cuffed her, the other officer turned her around and looked at her bloody clothes and the gash on her forehead. Oh, now he want to talk about something. He didn't want to listen when she was like, but this guy, don't forget to like as you come in. Don't forget to like as you come in, right? He said, looking at his partner. Marcus stood watching with tears in his eyes, holding Sandra in his arms. She yelled to Marcus to take care of the baby as the officers led her out of the house and into the police car. She sat crying in the car, the back seat with blood dripping into her eyes as they drove off, and wondered why she wasn't offered medical attention since it was clear that she had been beaten up and she had an open wound in her forehead that was still bleeding, but neither offered and she didn't ask any questions. She was scared and didn't want to say anything. Let me know if you can still hear me because I see people popping out and popping in. Sometimes it has to do. Let me double check that I could be heard. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Yep. Still could be heard. All right. So that is what was going on there. And again, I say that this stuff is necessary to understand as we try to unpack our own personal lives. The reason, for those who may have just joined us, that I started reading this was because of what we were seeing publicly from Tyrese Gibson about his life and his experience, right? And I knew just based on historically doing this type of work that there had to be some intergenerational trauma somewhere, right? And because he was so vocal and still is so vocal on social media, I thought this would be a great exercise, especially when I found out that his mother had written a book. Now, the curious thing about this book is that when it first came out, he was one of the ones, she had 4 children, but he was one of the ones who was averse to this book coming out, right? So of the 4 children, 3 of them wrote, and I'm going to read it now because I think it's important that when we're having certain experiences in life, if we're not open to listening, to learning from the generation that come before, then we will miss the clues that we should begin gleaning in order to understand. Sometimes we cry out for help, but we don't really want the help because we're blocking out the answers. So some people be like, oh, Creator, oh, Most High, help me. I'm trying to understand why I feel like this, or I'm trying to understand why I'm going through this, and this is not fair, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But when the answers come that may make us feel uncomfortable, or when we don't see how it directly correlates to what we're experiencing, we block it out. So some people do it when they have the opportunity to talk to the elders that are still here. Now, when the elders are gone, so are their stories. They say when an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. So when the elder is gone, unless somebody has encapsulated, unless they put that story down, unless somebody held that information, it's lost to time. And now you're left with a void when you could have just listened. You could have just asked questions. So I don't know for what reason he blocked it, but you only have 3 people of her children that commented. I'm going to read their comments before I continue. You have one son, which is his older brother, Tyrone. And so he says, it's on the back of the book, growing up was hell. His mother was drunk all the time, so the streets raised them. But they loved her anyway, and they loved her unconditionally. So her son, Tyrone, named after his father, said he acknowledged that his experience was bad, but they loved their mother anyway. But this book explains why they had a bad experience. Sometimes we're having a bad experience, and the worst part about it is we don't know why. Shantae, her daughter, so this is one of the daughters. I have to double check which one was the firstborn daughter, but one of the daughters who got taken away by the father in the story. Life with her mother as an alcoholic was very emotionally draining and tough. She never knew if she was going to have a bad day or a good day. Then she says she's proud of her mother for taking the steps to recover from her addiction. So this is a second child that's allowing themselves to see their parent as human. They didn't say, according to this, that the mother was lying. They didn't say that they didn't have an arduous, difficult childhood. They didn't invalidate her experience, but she also acknowledged her mother's experience. And that's very important. Salandra, which is, I think this is the oldest daughter. Wow, this is an inspiring book. It's straight to the point on how things really were, and it's very honest. So Tyrese's brothers and sisters are acknowledging that the book is true and that it is honest and that it reflects some of their experiences growing up. But it says, the book touched me and told me things about my mother I never knew. A couple of years ago, I did, and I now see floating around TikTok, which I think is an excellent idea, which is a journal to ask your mother questions, or ask your father questions, ask your grandmother questions, ask your family member questions, because they are going to be important. They may not seem like it's important now, but when you come into issues in your family, or when you come into issues in your relationship, or when something recycles with your children or with yourself, even when you go to the doctor, they're going to ask you, what is your family history, right? And so the only person that's missing on the back of this book is Tyrese, but he's also the person who's very vocal now about what he's experiencing. So this is why we're sharing the book, because to me, I never knew about the book until now. So I said all that to say, for those who missed me saying that in the very beginning of reading the book, why not say it again? Welcome to those who just joined us. So now the police have hemmed her up. Okay. So let's continue. So this is not just, oh, let me see what happened to such and such. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And then we missed the whole moral of the story, right? So let's continue. She says, they arrived at St. Louis County Jail, Precinct 11. The room was dirty and crowded. The officers took her over to a window with a female officer standing behind it. She was told to have a seat on the bench in front of the window. After a short wait, the female officer asked her to verify her name and address. She removed the handcuffs and she had her empty her pockets. Then she gave her some paper towels to clean herself up and offered her a cold compress. So somebody finally attended to what she had going on. She was grateful because everyone else was ignoring her. Once she was cleaned up, she put her in the cold holding cell with a lot of strange-looking people, both male and female. Priscilla says she was scared to death because she had never been in jail before. She worried that she had taken him out and that she was going to the gas chamber for murder. Wow, her imagination was going wild. Let me see here. She cried softly to herself, very remorseful for hurting James. She just wanted her baby back. Again, the adrenaline took over. And again, she hadn't seen or known what happened to the baby. She just saw the baby. And yes, she doesn't seem like she was thinking straight. The cell had 3 benches, 1 long bench against each wall, and 3 were full of people. More people were sitting on the floor and leaning against the wall. After inconspicuously looking around, she moved to the back of the cell and stood in the corner. The conversations she heard roundabout were horrifying. They were prostitutes talking about Johns they had been with, and they were being very graphic. And remember, she's still very young. Some people saying they didn't do what they were accused of, and it wasn't them that robbed the old lady or the liquor store. There were a few people that acted like they had mental issues, screaming and talking to themselves and slobbering down their chin. The conversation that scared her the most was the man talking about how he had just violated someone. So she's in general holding cell, right? He was arrogant and cocky and talked explicitly about how he did it. And remember, she also had a childhood trauma for this as well. And how it made him feel good to hear the person scream and try to fight, which is just wicked. It was frightening and sickening. People came and went all night in that cell. And she was glad that the person who was violating people left. No officer had came back to talk to her, and it felt like she had been there for hours. She was scared and she was going to be in jail for the rest of her life and wasn't going to see either of her girls again. She was sure by now Valencia was wondering where she was. Where am I? And thought she could get Sandra and be able to get back to Mrs. Grace's house to pick up Valencia before it was too late. She had no idea she would be arrested for stabbing her husband. She stood alone in the corner, cold and worrying, and thought about Sandra. She had gotten so big, and hoped that she remembered her. She wondered what they had done to her baby in that crazy, crazy house. Her mind had so many thoughts running through it, she slid down the floor in the corner and sat quietly. She says she didn't move or say anything to anyone. Nearly 11 hours later, an officer finally called her name and walked to the cell door. Priscilla Gibson, you're free to go. Huh? I said as I approached the cell door. You're free to go, miss. No charges are being filed against you. Go check out over there, he said, pointing to a desk at the other end of the room. Shocked to be leaving the jail, she walked to the desk where a clerk processed her out. She had given back her ID and the little bit of money she had in her pocket when she was arrested. Then she walked out of the police station. It was midnight and the buses had stopped running so she started walking the 12 blocks to her mother's house. On the way, she stopped. Oh boy. So sis, after all of this, you're going to stop at the liquor store. Remember, she's young and she actually started developing a drinking habit. So when we hear about him saying his mother was an alcoholic and she was drunk for 27 years, All of this stuff is happening, and that is her go-to, um, her go-to drug of choice, alcohol. So she stopped at the liquor store and bought a six-pack of Colt 45. Her head was still hurting, and she hoped having a drink would make it feel better. Really? the drink, the Colt 45 is going to make your head feel better? That drink going to make your head bang, man. She was bleeding and finally stopped and finished half her six-pack by the time she made it to her mother's house. And she sat on the step to finish another can of beer before going inside. It was after 3 a.m. and quiet and peaceful outside on the warm summer night. She was drinking and listening to crickets chirping and watching the lightning bugs. By the way, have you seen lightning bugs lately? Fly around, making the sky look as though it was sparkling. I haven't seen lightning bugs in a very long time. That was the end of chapter 9. Where that chapter ended, it just slid on out. And since chapter 10 is so short, I will go ahead and read that too. Let me know if you are enjoying this narrative and if you see the value in it. I don't know if I'm going to read the entire thing, right? But I'm going to keep going for as long as, I'm led to keep going. So we're going to read chapter 10 because it's a little short. I didn't remember coming in the house last night. I was asleep on the couch when I felt a slap. I ain't even going to say me, her, when she felt a slap on her face. Why are they so violent for no reason? She woke up groggy and saw mother standing over her. I thought I told you don't come back to my house, she said. Why do you hate this? This is also, some people grow up in environments that they don't get the answers to the questions. Like, why does this woman despise this little girl so much? Right? Why does she, after, no matter what type of pain she is inflicting on her, or what is she, because mostly the pain is inflicted by her mother, she's going through, this woman has like no empathy, no mercy. Like, why are you treating this little girl so terribly? Anyway, Shabaksa. She woke up groggy and saw mother standing. So she says, I didn't say a word. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes and sat up. Her body hurt badly, and she had a bad headache, of course, because she was drinking and you already had a headache, a head injury. I see you got your beat, she commented with a smirk on her face. And even worse than not helping her and having empathy, like you kind of derive some sick, twisted joy from seeing her pain. Like, what in the world, fam? What is really good with you? I don't even think she says her mother's name. I think she does say her mother's name. Did she say her mother's name? Because mother is just, I don't think Mother Dearest has anything on mother. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to see what mother's name was again. I don't even remember if she gives Home Skillet a name. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. So she's smirking because she got beat. Wow, lady. She got up off the couch and went into Marcus's room. It was early, so he was still asleep. Sandra lay beside him, asleep also. She picked her up and left the house without waking him up or saying anything to mother. She rode the bus back home. So the Sandra is the baby in the story. So she took her child and she left. She could have at least wrote Marcus a note. She rested at home for a couple of days before going back to work. Her boss was nice enough to let her off after she told him what happened. She was worried about James. He stayed on her mind all the time. Despite everything, she still loved him and needed to know how he was doing or if she had murked him, basically. She went to a payphone and called St. Mary's County Hospital on Clayton Road, where she thought they had probably taken him. She was wrong. She called Homer G. Phillips Hospital and found out that's where he was. She asked for his room number and was told that he was in ICU. So what we're hearing is that Tyrese's father and mother got into an altercation so terrible when they were younger that he ends up in ICU and she ends up with a gash on her forehead. Worried but relieved that she hadn't murked him, she decided to go to the hospital to visit him. Miss Gracie was kind enough to watch both girls after that afternoon. She was embarrassed for her to see her face the way it was. She didn't ask what happened to her. She just gave her a comforting hug. She left her house and rode the bus to the public hospital. So again, Miss Grace, I guess they call her Miss Grace because she's been a saving grace this whole story. This whole story. Okay? So she even watched the other child, which James's people didn't want to do. They wanted to separate the children, but Miss Grace embodied or embraced both of her children, which is beautiful. So it says here, she arrived at the hospital scared and nervous. All kinds of worries had been running through her mind as to whether he was paralyzed or worse. She felt so remorseful for stabbing him, she took the elevator up to the ICU. It was kind of self-defense, you know what I mean? Because homie was coming with a crowbar. She got off the elevator and followed the signs to the ICU ward and then asked a nurse where James Gibson was. She looked at him strangely, noticing the bruise on her face and her two black eyes. Because I think he did punch her. I can't remember. Like, who does this? Without questioning her, she pointed to James through a glass window. He lay still in the bed with a lot of tubes coming from his body, and she stood outside the glass looking at him and crying. So you imagine, this is just emotionally crazy. This guy steals your baby, steals your check, disappears for 6 months. Don't forget he beat her up before he stole the baby and stole the check. Disappeared for 6 months. Family lied. His daddy a pastor, his grandmama and his mama into things. You finally find a baby, try to take your baby and leave. He tries to attack you with a weapon. You try to defend yourself to get your child, and you go to jail and he's in the intensive care unit. So let's continue. This is wild, fam. It says here, he almost died, a nurse said as she noticed her staring at James through the glass. Another inch and the knife would have hit his heart, she continued. He didn't tell her. She says she didn't tell her. I didn't tell her I was his wife and the one responsible for him laying there fighting for his life. She stayed a little while, silently praying for him, and then she left. A few days later, she came back to the hospital to visit James and was happy to see that he was out of ICU and in his own room. She walked into the room to find him sitting in a wheelchair, looking out the window. "What you doing here?" he asked when he saw her walk through the door. Wait, let's not forget that James is the one. I'm sorry, y'all, because I don't know what to feel. Let me know what y'all feel in the comment section, because I don't know what to feel. Don't forget, lest we forget, that James is the one for like the last 3 times who has been stealing the money and doing drugs and leaving them in the house to be in the dark, to be cold, to not pay their rent, right? And then he's also the one who stole the child. And he's also the one so it's interesting now that James, she's feeling understandable, sad about what happened. And now James is the one who's acting like he's the victim totally in this situation. Let me know what you think, because this is just a lot. This is what in all of she says she came back to the hospital. Then he's like, "What you doing here?" he asked when he saw her walk through the door. "I came to see how you were doing. This is my second time here," I responded. James looked surprised that I had been here before. "I told the police I didn't want to press charges against you. You owe me." You see? The gaslighting. She owes you, fam? She owes you? He said, staring at her. I looked back at him without commenting. The best part of the hospital stay is the morphine. Because remember, she had found all of the paraphernalia under the mattress. He said, smiling. "That's some good stuff. All I got to say is I'm in pain and the nurses come and shoot, not even me, him, shoot him up. Oh, he loves it." She ignored his comment and sat down in the chair. She stayed a while talking with James about what happened and why it happened. She wanted to get an understanding why he ran away with Sandra in the first place. He said he was mad because she wouldn't let Sandra go over to his grandmother's house anymore. Now you have to wonder what in the world was Granny doing over there with the baby. Her grandmother said she wanted to raise Sandra, much like she had raised James, right? She did a bang up job with James. So he continued, that made me cringe. They discussed their relationship, and by the time they left that hospital, James and her decided. Can you guys guess what James and Priscilla decided after she left the hospital? Can anybody guess, please? I'm just rubbing my eyes at what I have to read next, but what did they decide? Anybody? After all of what I just recounted, what did they decide? I'll just sing it. Reunited and it feels so good. So while James, Tyrese's father, is in the hospital, whose real name is Tyrone, and his wife, his teenage wife, just got out of jail through a domestic violence altercation, and he drops the charges, they decide that they're about to be reunited and it feels so good. And that's it. That's chapter 10. That is chapter 10. What? We're 30 minutes in. I think I've had enough of James and Priscilla for the day. I can't right now. I understand. I know she's been through a lot. I know it's difficult to look on the outside and try to judge the decisions that she's making. Right now, he doesn't have a job, has not have a job. There's a lot of stuff going on with him. I left the link in the box if you'd like to comment, share your thoughts. I'm gonna go ahead. I've not been on my grind. I haven't been playing my little commercials. So let me play my commercial. I put the link in the box. Let me know if you want to come up, and then I'll just recap this because I think I've had enough for the day. Sometimes it's just you gotta process, especially when there's a lot happening in a little bit of time. And one of the issues in these type of situations is when the adrenaline is running, there isn't any time to process, right? There isn't any much time to process in this particular situation. It's from one thing to the next. I'll be right back. Island Twist follows Jackie Brown, a young girl who finds herself head over heels for the new island boy at school in fresh outer yard, and Jackie has the fever. But as she navigates the ups and downs of her new crush, things quickly spiral out of control when her not-so-secret admirer becomes determined to sabotage her relationship. So check out the new novel, Island Twist, over on Amazon today. Now back to the story. Yes, back to the story. Yes. So Island Twist has been out for a little while now. If you did read it and you forgot to give a little, a little review on Amazon, feel free to up over to Amazon and give a review on things so the people them can know. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We just went over chapter, what was that? I believe it's 9 and 10. These were two short chapters. So we just went over 9 and 10. A lot has happened. To recap, right? She is getting back with the husband, Tyrese's father, that she I don't even know if it was accidentally, but that she just juke up, okay? Because he stole her baby for 6 months and he was attacking her. So she went to jail. He was in ICU. He's just coming out, and they are deciding in this very hospital room that is a perfect time, to get back together. So that's what they're going to do. Let me know your thoughts on this before I go ahead and boogie. Just putting it all together, all of the episode. I forgot to put what episode this was. I have to double check. This is episode 9, I believe. This is episode 9. And so she's like 15. No, she's like almost 18 years old. And from this storyline has started, this woman has not really gotten a break. It's either things that other people are doing to her or things that she is making these bad choices and decisions based on what she feels she needs to do. And she keeps getting in trouble, in further and further trouble. But it gets worse. I'm sorry to say. But remember, 2 children are born and the 2 younger children are not born yet. So definitely stay tuned because it gets worse. It gets worse, people. It gets worse. So with that said, I don't see anybody coming up. Again, I get value from any and everybody's story. I'm wondering if I should show you guys the real life Tyrone now, or should I wait? Who wants to see a quick little clip of that I found of the real life Tyrone? Like, this is Tyrese's real life father. If anybody wants to see a little clip about, so you could kind of get an understanding about who we're talking about, I think I'm gonna do something quick, really quickly, of the part that he covered when he first met her. I think I'm gonna do that because we already read that. Queenie says, out and about drives 2 chapters. I'll listen as soon as the lives. Blue to the sunset you want to see. All right. I'm gonna give the part. Let me go ahead and get it. Stand by. I'm gonna give the part that he speaks about when they met because we already passed that part in the book. So let me go ahead and get. I can't play too much because it's somebody else's video. You don't know that already. So, because I watched the video before I read his part in the book. And so when I read his part in the book, I'm like, what? What are we saying? It made me more upset about what he was saying. So hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead and get to the part of when they met so that we can collaborate. Y'all know I like to cross-reference. Okay. I believe this is the part here. I believe it is. Let me hear real quick. Hold on a second. Okay. It's a good thing you put time markers on this thing. See, I'm not on my YouTube game, but thank him. Show the clip. I'm getting there, you guys. Let's get to this clip real quick of the father and his narration. So Priscilla's narration, before we get to his narration, if you missed that part, her narration is that Pookie had just played her and Pookie married somebody else, which is the father of the first daughter. And she was back at the mother's house being abused. And she was on her way to the laundromat and she met this guy. And she told him she had a baby. She told him all this stuff and they started talking. And then next thing you know, they became an item. They was in a relationship. You understand? So that's her account. I mean, the long and short of it, of how she met him. So let me share my screen. Let me clear my throat. Let me share my screen. Actually, present. Here it is. And then you can watch it at your own discretion. It's here on YouTube. There's so many different little button you have to press, you know. All right, cool. All right, you can see the screen. So there goes the father. He will be on our left right now. The interviewer is on the right if you're looking directly at the screen. So the elder gentleman, that is the father. Let me make it bigger here. Let's listen to what he says about when he met Priscilla.
Right. So you were saying Priscilla, which is Tyrese's mom, Shantae's mom, she was 16 when y'all met and you was 19 yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what she said, that they were 16. She was 16 and he was older. So she does, because she was 15 when she gave birth. So she's about 16. So let's continue.
Yeah.
And you guys met in St. Louis?
Yeah, that's where we met at St. Louis. We both went to the same high school together. Went to Sodan High School here in St. Louis, Missouri, you know.
Right.
Located up on Union and off of Delmar in St. Louis, Missouri.
It's interesting he put that they went to high school together, but he's born 53 and she's born 57. So they're grades apart. So even if they went to the same high school, sir, I don't know, you know, that you guys were in high school together, unless she was a freshman and you was the senior.
but then we went to Enright Middle. So we became lovers, man, as we, we used to see each other always in the hallway, at school and stuff, man, And I kept hitting on her because that girl was stacked like a shit brick house back then, man.
Did you hear this? So I don't know. That's the story that she tells of Pookie, which again, it may be merging these stories, but the story that he's talking about of hitting on her while they was at school, talking about she was built like a brick house, ha ha ha. Even the interview is laughing. That's kind of the story that she tells of the first guy. So I don't know, but we're gonna continue.
That woman knows you were built, man. His mama boy was stacked, man. And I kind of got close to her. We very close with each other, man.
Right.
And so I finally introduced her. Well, we stayed right down the street from each other, as far as that's concerned. We stayed right down the street from each other, man. Right down Holdemont and Page in St. Louis. So I was at one end of I was right there, Juliet, Plymouth in Holdemont. And she right there, Page in Holdemont, the next block up,
Right.
So we used to go to school together. We used to walk to school and all that stuff together, man, growing up,
I don't know how you was walk. I have to keep stopping it again because we just doing commentary. But you was walking. If you met her at 16, what was you still doing in school at 19? How was you walking to school together? I don't know. Let me continue. Y'all let me know what y'all think.
And we used to have so much fun back then, man. It's crazy, man. I'm still here. I hate that they gone now, man. Because I have went back home and stayed with Priscilla in LA. I stayed there, stayed at Lake Elsinore. That's what.
So keep in mind that LA conversation, because when we hear Tyrese tell the story, it was that his father, this is the story that I've heard him tell, that his father, which is this gentleman here, Mr. Gibson, moved his family out to LA and his mother was pregnant with him. And that's how he ended up being born in Watts. But Priscilla tells it a little bit different. So you're going to have to stay tuned for that. But he is placing himself in LA from St. Louis as well. So let's continue.
But you living at Lake Elsinore, California. Okay. And I stayed up there for about a couple of months, Then I stayed with Tyrese for about a month or two and came on back home, came back to their house, his mama's house, Well, he came and got me one night and took me up there, I didn't know he was that far up in the mountains, man.
Okay, so he going up to something else. This is a little bit later on. But let me finish out this one little part.
Up there in the Lake Elsinore area. Right. Temecula, California. He way up there in the mountains, man, and that's wow. And so I finally got a chance to see his house, man. I was surprised. I said, man, he said, Pop, this is my house here. I will never forget that, man. He said, Pop, this is my house.
Okay, so he going into all that part now. Priscilla is making allegations that he was, not allegations. According to her narrative, he was on drugs. So we're going to listen to him talk about him also being on drugs.
He asking.
Yes, sir.
I said, how long have you been clean, if you don't mind me asking?
I've been clean over 35 years now, man.
Oh, wow.
That's
good.
So, but let's pause. So if we're in 2024, and this was just done a few months ago, this video. So if this is 2024 minus 35 years, he's saying that it was 35 years would take you to 1989. Okay. 1989. That means, and his youngest son is 44 years old, right? Who was born in, I believe, 1978, thereabouts. So when they were little and all of this trauma was going on and stress was going on, their father, when he says one day he left and he don't know what happened, his father was addicted to substances, which his mother is going to speak about.
35 years. And I feel good, damn good, to be sober for a change, I went into rehab, man, and got myself together, man. Okay. I went into acting up there in California, man, and got my life together, man. The recovery program, and got sober, man. I was in the program for a year and 6 months.
Right.
And I've been sober ever since, man. You know, I don't do nothing no more, man, but just sit back and chill, man. You know, just try to live one day at a time. You know what I'm saying? That's all I've been trying to do.
Right.
You know, because I don't like the rumors you be having on Facebook about me. Please stop discriminating me, man. Making me feel bad, man. You know, I got it all on video.
I think at this time he's talking about his son. So when his son Tyrese does press tours or whatever, the way he speaks about his father, he sees these things and he's saying he doesn't like how he's representing him in the press.
The thing you have said, Tyrese, that's not right, man. You know, don't down your father, man. That's all you got is your dad, man. You know, once I leave this earth, you ain't got nobody, man, but you and Junior. You know, you better appreciate me, man. Call me sometime. Talk to me, man. Let me know what's going on. I'd like to hear from you, man. I ain't heard from you. Man, I heard from you, man. When you did that you did a great big concert in LA, man. I was backstage. And that was on Vermont. And it was owned by Crenshaw. You know, and you did a big concert, man, back in the days, man. When you really blew up and started getting big, man, you know. I don't forget things, man. Okay? I don't forget nothing, man. I got a mind of an elephant, man. I don't forget. You know, but you know what I'm saying, man, don't put me on the burner, man. Like I ain't, you know, like I'm not nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what I do every day. I'm at home, man, every day. I don't hang out the streets. I don't do nothing no more, man. I got witnesses can verify that.
So, and this is what happens a lot. When someone gets an injury early on, he basically doesn't want, because if his father is saying he hasn't seen or heard from him in years, that means that, and he's open, quote, to the relationship, that would mean that his son is not, right? And he's reaching out for that relationship to be built. But because of the injury, that the father, when he had the opportunity to be the lead and be the responsible one, he chose street life, right? So that also is some unhealed trauma that we see sometimes when we see him expressing himself about what he's experiencing and how important he is as a father, and why he takes it so seriously is to correct these wrongs that he felt, or injustices that happened to him as a child, right?
I'm at home 7 days a week, you know, and been like that since I left LA, you know, because I was kind of wild out there, man. I was buck wild in California, man.
Right.
Seriously.
He said was kind of wild. So again, we're going to read how wild he was. All right, stay tuned for that. But he's saying it himself, so we can at least corroborate that story. I'm just going to play this little bit and then I'm winding up.
I was buck wild, man. I didn't care because that's the life that I was living, man. Because I remember the guy told me and Priscilla about that a long time ago. When y'all go to California, yeah, y'all want to go out there to live, but man, it's wild and crazy in LA, man. It's open.
Right.
I had to find it out for myself, man, how open Los Angeles is, man.
So he was born. He's a church boy. His father is a pastor. We went, a deacon, a bishop, I believe. We went over that, but that's not what he wanted. And he's forewarned, but he was already doing what he was doing before he left. So it was only, you know what I mean?
It's wild and crazy in California, man. It ain't like nothing like it used to be. Like now, there's a lot of criminal crime and stuff going on now. Murders and all that stuff going on now, man. But back then, the dope was wild and crazy back then, man. I was into that wild, man. I was into that wild life, man. That's what I was doing. Not alone kids and my wife, you know what I'm saying, the woman that I married, now she's gone. I can't bring her back. I wish I could. Get back with your mother, man. You know.
That part had me. Did he just say Did I just read what I think I read and what we about to read? And then he said he wished he could get back with her.
But she dead and gone now, man. I can't bring Priscilla back. She was a good woman, man. We had a good life together, me and her, before y'all even thought about to be born, man. You know what I'm saying? Before y'all even thought about, man, to be on this earth, man. But I know one thing. She did a damn good job taking care of you guys, man.
So a lot of times, even in this thing, it's easy to blame, the woman. Listen to how he's recounting what he's talking about. I'm looking for it in the story. Y'all had good times. Where is it in this story? Because right now you're currently in the emergency room, and I'm not laughing at the situation. It's just like sometimes the way people recount things, you're like, huh? That's not what? Huh? Anyway, that was what you guys asked for. It I delivered. The video is on YouTube. If you want to watch the whole thing, feel free to do so. That kind of cross references and corroborates what Priscilla is saying in her book. So we will continue to read and pick up on chapter 11. Chapter 11 next time, because James doesn't stop there. Oh no, aka Tyrone. He doesn't stop there. So we want to see, we're going to read more about these, quote, good times, unquote. So with that said, let me go ahead and take this joint off the screen. With that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wind down. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I see some subscribers falling off. I mean, what I do here is read. Subscribers come, they like what I'm reading today, and then they go because they don't like what I'm reading tomorrow. But at the end of the day, it's about literacy. It's about learning. It's about healing. It's about growing. I read the Bible. I read books. I read people's stories. I read history. Hey, we talk about it. We learn. We grow. We elevate. So with that said, have discussions with purpose. I know right now the P. Diddy situation is taking over the entire airways. And people are consumed wanting to know every little detail. But I'm going to have to put a line from Elijah Muhammad in the Malcolm X movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. I am not surprised. Remember when Elijah Muhammad, he was there and he was like, I am not surprised. Why are we surprised? There's no surprise. I don't know what it is or why, the bigger, I'm seeing it in passing, and I'll say this. The bigger things that I see going on with this story is the power dynamic between the haves and the have-nots, and the things that could be used to exploit people. And it teaches us about desire. Right? That's what I'm seeing. I don't know. Maybe I can't turn it off. You know what I mean? That's just how my brain works. That's why I don't really sit and watch a lot of movies, because I can't turn it off. It's like, what are we taking away from this conversation? Because it's the same thing. When R. Kelly situation, I did some deep research into it. And yes, of course, you're gonna find some childhood trauma. You're gonna, but this particular situation is a little worse than the R. Kelly situation, in the sense that it's way too much. I agree. But again, for me, what are the takeaways? The takeaways are, if somebody does not have that carrot, if you did not disclose, or if you didn't give them, the power over you, then they wouldn't have it. And so in that narrative, the power that he yielded was the power they gave him. It's the power of attention. It's the power of desire. I want blah, 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 blah. And the person says, oh, that's what you want? And I can give it to you. It's the same story of R. Kelly. So if we, the people, keep thinking that the people that you're propping up, because why? The same way he got propped up is the same way they pulled them down. In a matter of months, all of the millions, all of the everything is gone. All of the esteem, all of the, the diplomas and the honorary degrees and all of that gone in the snap of a finger. How is that possible? because people are the ones who propped him up and put him there. Right. The learned lesson is the one, as growing up Jamaica say, that people will accept anything for fame and money. So then one has to look at, what is fame and money? Really? What are you doing all of this for? And why do they need you to give of yourself in this way in order? What are they gaining? They're gaining something, because they're not going to give you something unless they're getting something. So then you ask yourself the question, what are you giving them? And why? Look, you are getting them something worth more than what them I give you. Have to be. They say, I'm going to make you a millionaire. What did you give them? You didn't give them $1 million. You gave them something that's worth more than $1 million. And as compensation, they give you X, Y, and Z. So it's the desires of the people, the attention of the people, the will of the people that is being harnessed. That energy is being harnessed and being used to oppress. And right now, after the people is the one who built, like growing up, I watched the whole trajectory of the Puffy, the Biggie, the Tupac, like from coming from a young teenager up into this modern time. I saw the whole thing play out. If you born and you was paying attention, late 70s, early 80s, you saw the whole thing. Because then that would have been the demographic of people that would have seen the whole thing, saw the whole thing. When Little Kim first was on the escalator and they were showing the Slackness videos on MTV and BET, like we saw the whole thing as it happened. And to see the whole cycle of it from the beginning in the public sphere to the end, and to see how many people walk away, and to see how many people had, and again, for those who just joined us, I'm just doing a little end of discussion chat talking about, how we walk away from these situations, people ready to fall right back into it because they think that money and fame in the way they're giving it to you is worth it. And it's not. Every single time you see them, you're looking at them, and them not dead. The soul gone. It trap up. Why? It's a glass house. It's smoke and mirrors, and yet people are still. So, in this day and time, I pray that we continue to be wise, and may the Creator continue to be with us in this day and time as we navigate through these very treacherous waters out here. And just know that even the young youth, them that's coming, even we say, boy, we passed that time there and that enough for me. There's young children behind us coming. You got to warn them. You have to let them know these idols that are propped up before you, don't bow. Right now, I see people, even whether they're making joke or not, they let out cartel, and this is Jamaican news now, and the people are saying what they would sell, even in jest. How is that funny? You would sell your wife, you would sell your pitney, you would sell your house and car to go to a concert? Even if it's in jest, that energy you don't put out into the earth. I want to come back again and talk about more spirituality because, sometimes we don't understand certain things you don't put out into the earth, because when you put that stuff out in the universe, it's not about, it was a prank. I've said this before about the prank channels. Yeah. The people who tell lie and make pranks on their brothers and sisters or their family or their wife and fiance. And at the end they go, it's a prank, it's a prank, it's a prank. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. We may think it works like that. Right, growing up Jamaican, you also grew up watching the whole thing build, watching making of the band, watching Dylon. Yo, to show that we get old, we watched the first reality TV when Real World first came on, and then they had all of the reality TV come after that. Wait, I'm trying to get this proverb. I'm trying to get this proverb 26 and 19. It's a proverb that talks about, and I've said this before, about the stuff that people's doing. What's happening is there's a lack of wisdom that's happening in the earth, that sometimes I just be sitting like, Reggie, I walk to them people are doing. Like, where your head at? Anyway, it says, like a maniac, this is NIV, 26 and 18 Proverbs, Mishle Proverbs. Like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death, like a madman, just a Lego in the crowd, is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I am only joking. So what is he saying? Let me read that again. Proverbs 16:18. Like a madman who throws firebrand, arrows, and death, or like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death, it says, is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I am only joking. People could say, oh, this is not about pranks. It is about pranks. What is he saying? The madman who's shooting at flaming arrows of death into the crowd is crazy and dangerous. It's dangerous. It's foolish and it's dangerous. So is the person who's out here playing all of these games and saying it's a prank, it's a prank. Somebody gonna get hurt. Just like that madman shooting flaming arrows in the crowd. Somebody gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna get hurt. But the wisdom, it coming like for clicks and views, because right now, you don't even have to go to Hollywood to sell your soul and act crazy out in these streets. People use YouTube for it. They use TikTok for it. They use all social media for it, right? And you lose yourself and you sell your dignity and you sell yourself for self. You sell your sanity for what? Algorithm? That must seem mad no blow. Which algorithm? They're selling themselves for attention and views at any cost. It's madness going on in the world right now. Straight madness. So may we all continue to be sane. I'm come off of my soapbox now, because what in the world, man? So even if it's not for us, it's for the young youths that's coming behind us to know. Sometimes I listen to my children and I say, what's that? Who is that? What are you watching? Why is that attractive to you? Why are you pulled towards that? You think it's real? I have those conversations with them. Why? Because they only put the things that look attractive in front of you. They put the things that you're going to think. It goes back. I could go on and on and on. But when you look at, I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. Them say them not read the Bible, you know, but them read the Bible. Okay? Because in it is what they use to manipulate the masses. Okay? Because it breaks down human nature. The Garden of Eden, the beginning of the conversation was about what? The beginning of the conversation is that once you got convinced in your ear, somebody got your attention and you're listening, and they're tantalizing you with what? Something you already desire. Because if I know something you want and somebody I go tell you, say, hey, you come with me, I'm gonna give you that. You be like, I don't want that. That's not like, what else you got? Because I don't want that. How can somebody entice you with what you don't desire? Talk to me. How can someone entice you with what you don't desire? So when the serpent in the garden was spitting game to Eve, it was concerning something that you had to have desire, or that he was able to ignite a desire. Why? Because the next sentence tells you that she looked at it and saw that it was good, desirable, to make one wise. So why did she want it? And it goes on to tell you the reason why she desired it. It looked good. Right? So that's the same program that's still running. It's the same program. It looks good. You see these crazy little transformations with the makeup. The person looks crazy. Next thing you know, they got on 10 pounds of makeup and some lace front, and the person I said, whoa, them look good now. And naturally, human beings are attracted to that which looks good. that which we think is going to be good, that which is the easier way to get what it is that the person may want. You see? So, this thing is the age-old story. The puffy, the baby isle. I mean, it's Egypt. Why did Rome fall? That's why I buy the book the other day. Why did Rome fall? I'm just asking rhetorical questions. What was the nature of the environment when Rome fell? Rasta would tell you it's Babylon, but it is the manifestation of Rome. What was Rome doing? The Romans, if you look at the end, when the Roman Empire is crumbling, the men who were going to war used the women solely, for the most part. I gotta say solely. For the most part, this is historically, for reproduction. And they took paramours, then call them, look it up, the young pitney them, the young boy them. They took paramours. This is why history is very important. And they did the same thing that they're accusing this man of. The same thing that they are accusing him of is what they were doing. So they would, quote, mentor these young boys and take these young boys and they with them. And they with man in the time of the Roman Empire. So much so, if we look at what's going on, that the women started going to the shoemaker. You can look this up. A history, I know me make it up. And they started going to the shoemaker to get prosthetic genitalia. You can look it up. And this is where the terminology, and they went to the Isle of, what the name of the isle? Can anybody tell me what the island was named? I'm going to look it up and put it on my screen so you could see what they claim was going on. The Romans and the Greeks, and the Roman. And they claimed the isle was the Isle of Lesbos. So the Greeks had a certain culture. The Romans encapsulated the Greeks. And if you look at American society, a lot of what it's built on is Roman culture and Egyptian beyond that. Okay? So I don't know how much everybody knew that little interesting tidbit. But when you look at society and where it is going and what is being, why are they pushing these things? Why are they putting these things? Jamaica is also hijacked. Why are they pushing these things, these narratives? It's because if they can weaken the spiritual immunity of the people, then you got the people. If you can weaken the spiritual immunity of the people, then you got the people. And how do you weaken the spiritual immunity of the people? You get them to sin. In recent Bible study, if you remember the story of Balak and Balaam, they were afraid of Israel. And Balak wanted Balaam to curse the people. And he said, listen up, I can't curse the people, because who the most I bless, and who the most I curse. Him said 3 times he tried to get them to curse them. And what did he give them? He's like, yo, I'll give you stuff to do it. I'll give you stuff to do it. He said, no, I can't do it. But I could show you one thing. And then you begin to see the weakness in the armor. And once you see where there's a chink, where the armor is weak, and this is the weakening of the armor. It's the weakening of the fabric. Because a lot of these people, the church has failed many people. So I'm not telling the people go to the traditional church, because there has been many things that have happened that leaves a distasteful taste in the mouths of the people. But totally eliminating a standard of morality brings you to depravity. And that's what they're sitting there now. I had to go there because this thing all over my screen. Everywhere I go, me can, yes, and make we know more. And the people, yes, we want to know more. To do what? Pay attention to the young one, them and make them know say that's not what it is. That's not where because look, these people have to stay on drugs, these people have to stay on alcohol, these people have to stay numbed because the soul cannot bear the iniquity. Why do they stay on all of these things? Because the soul cannot bear the iniquity. Let me a little hyped up here. Like, Mona, I thought we was reading about Tyrese, but Tyrese like to go into the he like to go into Bible study. So it's right in line. You know what I'm saying? It's right in line. But yeah, that's just something. Show me the person who climbed all the way up to the top who wasn't on something. If you have anything to share, feel free to do so. I'll drop the link in the box. I'm gonna boogie in like a few minutes. Show me the person who climbed all the way up there, didn't get addicted to something. Where is Kanye? Addicted to laughing gas? Gone. We don't know what happened to him. Where did it happen to Michael Jackson? Addicted to painkiller? Where did it happen to Whitney Houston? Addicted to substances? What happened to the old school people? Addicted to all kind of something? Marilyn Monroe addicted to all kind of something? Marvin Gaye, same thing. If you begin to look at all of what comes with, you're going to get, just like when he said, you should not surely die. Yeah, you didn't die in that day, right? So they say they're going to give it to you, but they're going to give it to you with a long string. And when they pull that thing back, like what's happening now to I don't know, the Alias. I'm gonna call him Alias because Holmesy got 100 names. What's happening to Alias right now is that all of that is going. He tried to put up how much $1 million mansion. They said no, judgment time. That can't save you. You see. So, at the end of the day, I say it go. Anywho, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for rocking with me. And let me just share that because, just watching all and seeing all and listening to all of this stuff, it's like, bro, make sure the Mayor One song come out of Jamaica. And the people in the comment have to ask, this cannot be being released. This cannot be what is going to be released into the ears of the people. It is depravity. But now there seems to be no moral compass that can make a man with go in our studio, would think about something and say, I'm going to put that. That's why even when we read about Bob Marley and we read about that time period and we read about Marcus Garvey, there's something to be said of, even though they had their internal struggles and even though they had their humanity, when you look behind the scenes, they understood that writing it down and committing something to paper, it's spiritual and it would transcend their lives. And they were conscious to a certain degree about what they were putting on paper and what they were singing and what they were writing and what they were doing. You have to create consciously. There's a lot of people that are creating and they're not creating consciously. Like I watch a lot of documentaries and you will see the artist drew that on the pyramid 5,000 years ago. He ain't here, but that artwork he made is, he ain't here. But them slack Romans that had put that stuff on the vases, that's still here. So that people could look at your artwork and be like, okay, this society was a bit depraved. No, they was kind of off. What do you think? You understand me? I say, like, I don't know if you guys have remember seeing some of this stuff that's coming out of Rome and then people, then place there. Even the statues. Even if you live in places like New York, I used to walk around Manhattan, right? And usually people walk with their head down or straight in front of them. Understandably, you're in the city. But every now and then, look up. If you're ever in the city, or you in a place like that's an older place that had people that came with some older wisdom, Look up. Look upon the building them. Some of them still have on the stone statue them upon it. Tell me where you see. I used to be like, what D-Bag said? He said to me, tell me what you see. Yeah, Grown Up Jamaica says it's a agenda that they've been cooking up for years. Yeah, then this is the full manifestation. This is it in full, because first time it's like, nah, me not doing it, but you're doing it. But no, me not hide. You know what I mean? No, they're not hiding their stick and lick a bush. Now it's open. And now that it's open and you can see it, it's a full-on frontal assault on the mind, the spirit, and the consciousness of the people. So we have to be careful how we allow these things into our mind, heart, and soul. You understand? Because especially the young and impressionable, that's what they want access to. You see? So with that said, let's keep on a say, but it's in line, so we can go on with it. It can't stay. With that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you like this kind of reasoning, let me know. We come back and hold a reasoning. You know what I mean? Because the views and clicks and things now gonna make it, because view at the end of the day, that's short term. Because if you not keep doing it, guess what? The views and clicks go away. So that means each time the person continues to compromise and eat away at more and more of themselves until they no longer recognize who they are. So if you're going to build, you have to build on a solid foundation. If you're going to build, especially I'm talking to those in this space who do this type of entertainment work or education work, or you got to build on solid foundation, because you're also responsible for what you serve the people. You know? And some people feel like them just can't get up and just do anything, and they're not gonna be responsible for it. You are. Yes, London, New York, and Paris. Thank you. Very satanic. I thought it was me, Grown Up Jamaican. Dr. Charles, welcome to the conversation. Yes, thank you for the other cities. London, Paris. I was gonna say DC too, right? But I haven't been to DC to walk up and down. But definitely, when you look up, you see gargoyle. You see all kind of stuff. And you're wondering, what the heck? The older buildings. Walk around Manhattan, you will see it. So you have to know that there's certain energy that's still latent. And now not even latent anymore. It's activated. And it's coming through these entertainers. It's coming through the desires, the base desires of the people. And it is seeping into the minds and the consciousness of society, which is taking away the ability to spiritually defend yourself against things. Because why? The desires are off. How much shoes you need? How much city you need for visit? How much clothes you need? You go sell your soul, the immortal part of you, for things where when you're done, the people them are gonna have estate sell. Listen now. Let me listen now. The other day I was up somewhere, and I hear this lady talking. And one old man I try to spit game to one old lady, right? And the old lady says she just buried her mother. And now they're having a what? Estate what? Sale. I mean, all the things. And anytime you want to look in the paper, you look anything, you're going to see an estate sale. That means all the material things that you thought was so important, all the things that you thought that you had to have, the red bottoms and the this and that and the everything else, at the end of the day, somebody go put a price tag on it and sell it. And you, my dear, the soul, you can't put on the clothes. So at some point, we have to reprioritize what is really important. Because if and when the reality that everybody has to come into account for, if and when, because we know not even if, when, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? Never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. I heard that the other day. I went to a funeral, and that's exactly what the person, you never see a U-Haul. It is not going with you. I like to liken it to a game. And the young youth them, for the young ones that's listening, If you're playing a game, even if you're playing a board game or a video game or whatever, the pieces belong to that game. You can't take Monopoly money and go to the supermarket. It's Monopoly money. You can't take the pieces for that game and think that it's going to transfer. It's non-transferable. It doesn't. You know what does get up from the game? You do, the soul. You get up from the game and then you go into your real reality. So life is kind of like a construct in that way. It's not a game, but some people take it as a game. Life is kind of that construct in which when you come here, you get certain things to navigate this dimension. You get a body. That's your vehicle. It's like you can't play Monopoly if you didn't pick a hat, if you didn't pick a shoe, if you didn't pick an iron. You can't play the game Monopoly if you didn't pick one of these pieces to what represent you. You have to pick your avatar. You get me? Same way like we come on the earth, your avatar becomes your name that your parents give you. The avatar becomes your look, your biometrics, what you look like, how you sound, how you move. That becomes the avatar that you have to navigate this earth. And what's wild is we living in a time where people's like, them not like them avatar. Them want somebody else's avatar. And them go to doctor. Doctor who's supposed to be teacher and leader and healer. Because if I'm not mistaken, the root word for doctor is teacher. I could be wrong though. So the doctor's supposed to be the teacher, and the doctor said, no, man, don't worry about that. The whole system is I just feel like it today, y'all. The link is in the box if y'all want to come up. This thing turned upside down. I think I've been watching too much madness. That's what it is. I've been doing some studying for homework, and I'm just seeing how much and what people would do for money. And I'm like, this is crazy. Dr. Charles says, I'm in the process of purging everything. I discover that the older I get, the less I need to live. The less, because you don't really, humans are habitual, we're creatures of habit. Somebody can, who said it the other day, 50 cents. He bought Mike Tyson's old mansion. He said he's afraid to go down the hall. The place so big. All of that is for ego and bravado. You're going to stay in a certain part because you're comfortable there. You can have the biggest house. You're gonna the part that makes you feel most at home. That's where you're gonna go stay. That's where you're gonna visit. The rest of the house, you're gonna never going now. Why? Because humans are habitual. We're creatures of habit. We like to go where it is comfortable. If it's in your study, then you're gonna probably spend the most of your time in your study. If it's in your kitchen, then you're probably gonna spend the most of your time in your kitchen. You understand what I'm saying? So they tell you that there's not enough place for everybody and that you need to build all of this excess, but you have to stay upon road because no way if not they feel bill. It's like, wait a minute, what in all of madness is going on here? And we live in a society that tell you that things is more important than people. Yeah. And people are on what? More pills, more antidepressant, more anxiety pills, more has given more mental illness, more disconnection, more loneliness, more isolation. We have more food and less nourish. How it work? It's all these videos. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been doing a study because I have to do a intervention on I picked the topic of obesity. So I'm writing a health intervention because I'm ending the end of this particular course that I'm taking. So I decided to watch a whole lot of documentaries. I guess this is the result of it. Because I am just flabbergasted, people. I'm going to go into some of what I found, but not today. What I did find is that greed is at the core about a lot of what is happening. But it's also, the system now is cannibalistic in that it is designed to consume itself. I said this the other day, if healthcare is the top industry in America, That means the people are the product. Or some would say the customer. But you're producing people. I would say the product, because you're producing people to then consume what you are also producing. So the sicknesses are being produced so that they could be remedied. And there's a part in the Bible that says that he's talking about the people, the leaders who's supposed to be over the people, and it says that they heal the slights, or they heal the wounds. I don't even want to misquote. Slightly. Right? Hold on. I have to get that one. Because they're not, they heal the wounds of the people, are that all of what is happening, it is all interconnected. But the answer is only given a partial answer, so that you will never know that one thing is connected to the other thing that's connected to the other thing. And so you say, no, man, I'm fine. I don't do that. And then we are in such a level of the people, in such a level of delusion is the word. Beauty is job security for health professionals. Yeah, if the people come and say they want it, which beauty will is really vanity. Because vanity, what did Solomon say? Vanity, all is vanity save the preacher. This is in the book of Ecclesiastes. But they said, don't read that, man. Don't read that, because it was written by people. But yet still you have some pertinent information that we're missing out on. Obesity is job security for health professionals. Tell them, Dr. Charles, obesity is job security for health professionals and pharmaceuticals. I will read that again, and I will read it slow. Y'all don't know how many right now. I should open up the playlist I was compiling as I had some downtime. And my downtime is not really downtime. So I'm over here studying, and it's over 50 documentaries and topics. I mean, documentaries dedicated to obesity, documentaries dedicated, and I'm not just talking in America, I'm talking around the world. So then one have to say, wait a minute, something are going. Something is happening right before our eyes that's feeding into all of what is being experienced. But don't pay attention over here. Let me shock your system. Let me trigger your dopamine. Let me trigger you in this way. Now come and get all of this stuff I'm giving to you. The food made us sick, so we get stuck in the sick care system. Then you end up at Big Pharma. Yep, it's all connected. Obesity is job security for the health professional and the pharmaceutical. That's another thing. I'm seeing Ozempic. $1,500. Hey, what you say? Trulicity and Majaro. $1,500 dose, ain't it? I was just watching this. I'm hearing the trigger words, but I was literally just watching the young, not even young people, well, I'm young, on TikTok now, taking the Ozempic, diabetes people medicine, and gone take it, so they want to lose weight. Like, so when I finish writing, because I have to finish writing this intervention, then I'll be able to clear my head enough. And the reason I'm watching all of these, because sometimes you'll see a problem and then you think, I got the solution. But if you haven't studied the problem and studied what has been done in other places, then you are just acting as if you got the answer to cure all things and not acknowledging that people before you tried this, and this, and this. So I find myself reading the studies and looking at all of the things that have been done to say it is a problem. If 2/3 of America, 2/3 of America is either overweight or obese, Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. And my first video, not one of my first video on YouTube, the topic was, how is your health? That was my first video on YouTube. The year was 2009. So it's not now that I'm interested in this topic. I have just broadened it over the years to encompass physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, because as I grew, my understanding grew. And then I come and share it with you. And I use stories to do so. Yeah? So with that said, yeah, Dr. Charles, thank you for this. Thank you for your feedback, because we not understand, like the elders like to say, we not understand what clock a strike. We not understand what clock a strike. It's not just a problem in the US, it's a problem in the UK. I was shocked to see it's a problem in France. It's a problem in China. It is a problem everywhere. Obesity, it's worldwide. There was a story about, I think it was Queensland, New Zealand. I think it was a story about the Aboriginal community in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. And the documentary was talking about how they brought in sugary drinks and beverages, and they brought in certain things into the community store. And so the people who were formerly hunters and gatherers and were fit and lean started to consume these products. And as they consumed these products, they got bigger. Their waistline increased and they became sicker, until they were able to realize and pinpoint that it was certain products that came in that they were now becoming accustomed to that was causing this sudden weight gain. And when they decided that they no longer wanted this product in their community store, you know what the NGO do? The non-governmental organization, which is essentially, non-for-profit overseas, the NGO pulled out of the project of supplying the store, because certain, we're just going to call them certain right now. Certain people fund certain things to get foothold and access into certain communities. We saw this in South America. I saw this in India, where you have, in Asia, where you have certain company, two word, each start with a C, go into these communities to make their dark, bubbly, carbonated beverage, and then they suck up the water supply in said communities. Then buy up the water for make them dark, carbonated, sugary beverage. And when the people then burn them out and say they don't want them start to fight the people. And they go to South America and they fund programs, and they end up in the school systems, and the children begin to get obese. So that's another story for another day. Yep. And yep. So there's so much more that we could be focusing on other than baby oil and Mr. Alias, because there are real things that we need to advocate for in our own personal communities and in our own personal spaces. And we don't have to be doctors or lawyers to do this. Growing up says you travel a lot. America have the fattest people. The lot, I mean, UK is right behind them. What UK I was watching was trying to do, was to implement the traffic light system on the products, red, yellow, and green, to indicate to the buyer. Because what happened is, one of the core problems is, and even I am, and this is what I'm developing the program for here, and then I'll go about looking for funding for it, is that the food education is not there. So because the food education is not there, and the ingredients are overwhelming, and the how to read the nutrition facts is overwhelming, people don't really understand. And I agree with Growing Up America, the portions are huge here. So what you're really eating is all 2 and 3 portion one time. You're really eating 2 and 3 portion one time. So when you're reading the food labels and you think, oh, this just has blah, 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 you really ate 3 times the daily amount, recommended amount that you should be eating. So the people, is even if the country is gluttonous because it's advantageous to the bottom line, however, it is the ignorance of the people. And I'm not saying that as an insult, but it is the ignorance, because it's not being taught, of the people when making choices, that is causing, to me, the issue. Because somebody could make something all they want. If you don't buy it, guess what? As a person who is in food production, if the person doesn't buy it, then it don't sell. And if it don't sell, you don't make it. I just saw it go. Right? So when you're looking at, even if I ask the question here and say, what is the daily recommended amount of sugar that a woman should eat per day? What is the daily recommended amount? I know we over here now. I guess it's one of them days, but hey, the daily recommended, if anybody could guess the daily recommended amount of sugar that, according to the USDA, the daily recommended amount, when you look on the back, and those stats is based on 2,000 calories a day. There's a daily recommended amount. What is it? What is the daily recommended amount of sugar for children? Because when we're looking at the back, it's just giving you one set of numbers. So there's a different daily recommended amount for children, a different daily recommended amount for women, and a different daily recommended amount for men. So Growing Up Jamaican says 5 grams a day, and that's what they recommend, 5 to 6 grams a day for women. You know how little bit, because 3 teaspoons is in a tablespoon, 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So if we say 5 to 6, where they say top side is 6, So 2 tablespoons of sugar is the daily recommended amount of sugar per day for women, and 4 to 6 for children. So let's put children at 4. That means children are 1 tablespoon and a teaspoon. And for men, it's 9. Yeah? So men shouldn't exceed 3 tablespoons of sugar a day. Women shouldn't exceed 6 tablespoons of sugar a day. And children really shouldn't exceed 4 tablespoons of sugar a day. Now watch it now. How much sugar with 5 grams, right? 6 grams is the same equivalent. And 9 grams is the equivalent. No, it's on not the grams. It's the tablespoon. That's tablespoons, sorry. How many grams is in 1 drink of Coca-Cola? So it's not the 5 grams, it's the 5 teaspoons. Yeah, it's the teaspoons. How many grams is in 1 12 ounce of Coca-Cola? That means how much sugar? A 12 ounce, if you just do a quick search from Coca-Cola's site, is 39 grams. 39 grams. So in grams, you just do the conversion. Hold on. Grams to teaspoon conversion. Because it's jumping back and forth between grams and teaspoons, it could get confusing. So let me just do grams to teaspoon. So if you say 39 grams, it's 9.32 teaspoons. That means one Coca-Cola have you at 9. That means if a man drank one Coca-Cola, he's at his limit for the day of sugar. And if a woman drank 12 ounce of Coca-Cola, she's over her limit. And if a little young teenager drank it, they way over their limit. And how much times are they over their limit? So this is what I'm talking about, the education part that we don't have. The grams, the teaspoons. It feels like we're back in class. The tablespoons. People are not thinking in that way. Oh, wow, this is a drink. I want it. I'm going to drink it. So the reality is that the sugar consumption, the amount that is being consumed on one product causes you to exceed, in many cases, your daily recommended amount for the day. So if you go on and you eat more things that day, more time people could be all 10, 15% over, or times, rather, not percent, over the amount that they're supposed to eat for the day. I'm not talking about calories. I'm talking about sugar only, not to mention calories. And this also goes for grape juice, 100% apple juice. It goes for, why? Because the sugar content in it that people are giving to the children exceed. This is why you see anxiety. Oh, the pitney have ADHD. The pitney have this. The pitney have that. Or you gave the pitney Pop-Tarts this morning. Thank you, Grown Up Jamaican. 1 teaspoon to 5 grams. Dr. Charles says sugar is in everything. Or is it? In this particular case, we're talking about added sugar. We're talking about added sugar. And we're also talking about how we know what we don't know. Like I said to somebody recently, alcohol already, what we know alcohol, we know the alcohol breaks back down into sugar. It's empty calories. It's all about how the body is processing it. How is the body processing carbs, refined carbs, sugar, or AKA glucose? So beyond the added sugar that you just ate, let's just say you drank that 12 ounce, and then I drink 16 ounce and 20 ounce, but me just I said 12. And then with that, they ate the fries. And then with that, they ate the burger with the bun. All together, by the time that hits the system is not just thinking that there are 39 grams of sugar in the drink. It's also going to break down the glucose the refined carbs as glucose. So what is happening is, just with sugar alone, we ain't talking about nothing else. The body is in overload, and the pitney them is getting insulin resistant and pre-diabetic and diabetic before them all reach 20. The pancreas. So when you see PCOS and you see all of these type of ailments, and then you look at what's said to do or what's causing them, and you look at some of this medical research and this paperwork, you can see that it is the poor choices and the uneducated choices in these areas that's causing the problem. That's another story for another day, peoples. I gotta get it all out my head and into my thing here. But there's so much work that has been done if we know where to look. You know? Definitely check out one of those sugar documentaries. so that we can understand how much sugar is really being consumed on a daily basis. What's your favorite breakfast? And then I'm gonna wrap up. I just want to do a little live interaction. If you say the favorite breakfast is Special K with strawberries, I know somebody who likes to Special K with strawberries, right? Hold on. Let me pull this up. You know, I don't like the Special K with red berries. Why doesn't it make it big anymore? Hold up. This is a, let's say 16.9 ounce here. What is thing there? All right, boom. Let's do this real quick. I know I keep saying I'm gonna wrap up, but we're gonna do this real quick. Banana and cheese. See, Queenie's in toast. That's interesting. Banana and cheese. That's the first time I hear that one day. Plantains with veggie omelet. You don't know? I had some boiled plantain yesterday. And I had some veggies today with some kale. Now coffee with sweet cream and 2 teaspoons of sugar. So then, Dr. Charles, that 2 teaspoons there, that's your sugar for the day. That right there is your sugar for the day. 2 teaspoons. No. 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons, we just said. Or 6 teaspoons. No, that's 1/3 of your teaspoon. Sorry, I'm bugging. 6 teaspoons. So that's 1/3 of your sugar content for the day. All right. This is some of what the intervention is going to entail. I know I was all over today, and when you really start being mindful, you realize like, yo. So when somebody said, boy, I'm going to put on weight and can't take off the weight, but I'm exercising, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that, not realizing it's other things. It's other things that we're not mindful of. So I'm a stickler for reading ingredients, and I've been a stickler for reading ingredients over the years. But lately I've been taking some nutrition classes, and it really opens my eyes to certain things. But for the sake of argument, right? They say that this is a 16.9 ounce box. But we look on the calorie. That's what we look on. Because them say 2,000 calories, and you say, wow, just on 140 calorie, man, and no saturated fat and low sodium. And no good something that, man. So you pour it in a picnic bowl. Right? But check it out. Number 1, how much people go sit here and eat 1 cup? 1 cup. Like take out your measuring cup and eat 1 cup of cereal. Not many. Yeah, the cream has sugar in it too. So now you start to be mindful, because then you're gonna start looking like, whoa, this have sugar in it too. And by the time you look, all 2-3 times the amount you're supposed to have today for the day. That's where it's coming from. I'm gonna come and speak to on that one in a second, but I'm gonna tell you exactly where it's coming from. So, for instance, you're not gonna eat 1 cup, because 1 cup, measure out 1 cup of cereal and be like, yeah, I'm full. Absolutely not. So, say the person eats 2 cups of cereal. We ain't even gonna worry about the milk right now. And we look at the thing. So they put it up front, and they tell us the serving size. This is one thing we don't be paying attention to. If they tell us the serving size on the chips is 5 chips, how many people count out 5 chips for real? Might sit down and eat the whole bag or all the cookies. Next thing you know, you have to multiply the 140 by 12, because that's how much you really just ate. But people don't do that. Who walks around, although we have calculators on our phone, we don't do that. I might think you were weird if you did that, right? So let's jump down here. Everything looks okay. So say you're at 280 for the calories. Bad not so bad, right? You no trans fat. Ooh, that's great. You come down to sodium. Oh, only 11% for the day. We come down to carbs. And this I learned recently. You look at the included sugar right here. You see that? You look at the included sugars and it's at 10 grams. Yeah? And then you have to say who you are. How much grams? Hold on 1 second, because I keep jumping back and forth. Grams of sugar. I think it's per day. I keep jumping back and forth between how many grams a day, sugar per day for women. We're just going to do women for right now because 25 grams, right? So you can write that down. 25 grams or 6 teaspoons is recommended for women per day, right? 25 grams. Good. So you have to do a little bit of conversion. Right now, you're at 10 grams of sugar if you ate 1 cup of Special K. When I go back, I'm going to have to cut this video because they're going to be like, this ain't the Tyrese reading. Rock with us now. I'm going to have to cut it and split it. But that means everybody, we could do the math. If we ate 2 cups, because who's going to eat 1 cup, right? If we ate 2 cups of this Special K, guess what? We just ate 20 grams of sugar. I don't know what they're talking about with this 20% here. That's not correct. That's not correct. It's 25 if you're a woman. So that means you just ate in this 1 bowl of cereal, not including the milk, okay, which lactose breaks down with a sugar component as well, but not including the milk, you just ate 20 grams of sugar. So you only have 5 grams of sugar left in your daily recommended amount. But wait, there's more. There's a little trick right here in the corner. You ready for it? Carbohydrates also break down into who? Sugar. Carbohydrates break down into who? Sugar. Why? Because it breaks down into glucose. So if you minus the carbohydrates, 34 grams of carbohydrates minus the fiber, because fiber is going to be flushed out, you have 31 more grams of potential sugar, aka glucose, from this meal. So altogether, 31 grams, I'm writing on my little thing here, plus the 20 grams you just ate with the sugar that they admitted, you are at 51 grams of sugar from 2 cups of cereal in the morning. How wild is that? So this alone, you have exceeded your amount of recommended sugar by 2. And you not drink no coffee yet. I never put no sweetener in there yet. I never drink your orange juice yet. I never eat your toast yet. If you only ate this in the morning, you are over your sugar dosage amount by 2. And what does the body do when it gets this much in? It keeps trying to push up your insulin to try to pull down the blood sugar levels. And what does it do when the sugar is trying to get into the cells, but it can't go into the cells because of the overload? Then you move into insulin resistance. And then the body, to try to kind of store what it can, because you're flooding it, whatever the body doesn't use in the sugar, it metabolizes it into fat and stores it in the fat cells. That's the short truncated version. You know what I mean? That's the everyday version. But essentially, what we did was just realize that 2 cups of this particular cereal got you over your daily recommended amount. But it don't look like it, does it? Looks nice and healthy. Let me go back over here now. Let me come to this comment section. I'm going to have to, if y'all want me to do more of this, just let me know. I'll come over and break this thing down a little bit. So Dr. Charles said you're always complaining about the belly, hard time losing belly fat. I would say get a book, get a journal, and just start observing before you do anything. People like, what you need to do is, and da 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 da, and then the person's head is spinning, and then they don't know, and then they get on it, and then they fall off the wagon, and they feel bad. Nah, just I would, in my humble health advocacy space, start writing down and observing what you're eating throughout the day, whether it be in added sugars, whether it be in refined carbs, whether it be in bread, bagels, all of those things. You just begin to take a log of it. And after a week's time, but after each day, you can go back and look and tabulate how much sugar you just took in. And then after a week's time, look at how much sugar you took in. And on any day, if you exceeded 25 grams of sugar, just know that is going to be stored as fat in the fat cells. So let me continue here. Any of them boxes of cigarette are loaded, but that's also what is given. That's what's given to the children. Indeed, there are different types of, and that's another thing. There are different kinds of sugars and different names of sugars. So, that's another story for another day. That's also going to be in the intervention as well, because we also don't know all of the lovely aliases. The sugar is like Puff Daddy. First it was P Diddy, then it was Sean John, then it was Puffy Combs, then it was Brother Love. That's how sugar is. It's cane sugar, it's high fructose corn syrup, it's corn syrup, it's all these different names that they flip and twist to make you not think it's sugar, but really it's sugar, sugar, and more sugar. Right? We could look at the ingredients list. It is important. It is mostly important. It's complicated, but then not. I'm gonna tell you something I learned many years ago, over a decade ago. Yeah, sugar. And again, another important thing as we're reading the list, as Grown Up Jamaica said, anything, as somebody where anything, the food label is listed like this. Let me go back over to the food label now. Where should the food label go? All right, ingredients now. As the first thing, it's listed according to the quantity of that thing in the product. So if sugar was the first on the list, that means it's mainly sugar. If water is the first on the list, and then it goes in descending order. So we see whole grain wheat, and we saw 31 grams of carbohydrates, right? Then we see rice. Then we see sugar. Freeze-dried strawberries, wheat brands, and then it tells you contains less than 2%. So 98% malt flavor is also a derivative and can be sometimes contributed to sugar content, right? So what happens is, that's important to know how much of this thing that they're saying on the front is actually in here. So it actually has more sugar than freeze-dried strawberries, right? So in the top 3 things on this list are refined carbs and sugar. Whole wheat is going to break down to glucose. Rice is going to break down to glucose, and sugar is going to break down to fructose and glucose. So this thing that you're going to eat is going to be mainly sugar to the body anyway, to the body. But it's a long thing. It's complicated, but it's not. It can be very simple. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Charles says you have a perfect journal for that. Yeah. Just start writing. This morning, I had my cup of coffee, 2 teaspoons of sugar. Me eat a bagel. You go down the line, you eat yogurt. Flip the yogurt on the back. How much carb? How much sugar? Right? Especially if then you go down the line for lunch, whatever you eat, get the nutritional label, even if you have to look it up later. How much sugar? How much carb? How much fiber? Subtract the fiber from the carb, you're going to know how much sugar altogether. And you do that for the snack, and you do that for the dinner. And you do that for 7 days. But after each day, you tabulate. Take some time and tabulate. How much sugar did I eat today? Or refined carbs did I eat today? And at the end of it, if you exceed 25 grams, you know, say that is going to be stored as fat in the system. And worse than that, being it's stored being as fat is your body trying to save you. But when your pancreas keeps putting out this insulin, because it's being inundated with all of this product to try to get in check, you're gonna wear out the pancreas. And so then the body is gonna become insulin resistant. And that is the precursor for pre-diabetes. And the reality is the obesity is linked, or the overweight, even before obesity, is linked to pre-diabetes, is linked to insulin resistance, is linked to what we're talking about now. Yep. Dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, all breaks down. But some of them, the body processes differently. And that's where it gets, more technical. What the liver processes versus what goes through the natural processes. So another issue is people, and I saw this and I was like, you know what? We go extreme and we say, oh, we're going to go healthy. So we're going to throw all of these ingredients in the smoothie and then drink it. But on a normal day, would you eat 3 banana, 4 apple, 10 grape, and a peach one time? The answer is no. Then why the backside would you be drinking that much sugar in a smoothie? That's a lot of sugar. And even though it's natural, you can still be inundating your body with it because you wouldn't naturally consume it in that way. So it's a lot, but one step at a time. Hopefully this has been helpful. We had 2 hours now. That's what I get when I watch too many documentaries. I want to thank everybody for rocking with us. For those who wondered why we went off into the weeds, no worry, man. Like I said, if what we're learning is beneficial, then it's a good thing. So I'm going to just update this thing right now. Watch this now. I'm just going to update it to say, Tyrese, malt flavor is indeed. Thank you, Grown Up Jamaican. Grown Up Jamaican is fact checking us today. We like the fact check on thing. So yeah, another one of the things. So I'm just going to go ahead and update this to put and wellness chat at the end. If that makes anybody feel better, I'm going to be like scared and afraid. Priscilla agrees to cooperate. Episode 9 and bonus wellness chat. So them know say wellness chat. So if you missed anything or you have any questions, just rewind the video or drop it in the box below. Now remember, this is not a catchphrase. It is important. Health is wealth. And insulin resistance can be reversed. There's a lot of information here on YouTube. Not all of it is good, but some of it is, right? And pre-diabetes can be reversed with lifestyle changes. But if you keep on, what happens is that oftentimes the people are not being told that their levels are elevated or checked for elevated levels until it becomes a problem. So in recent times, I bought a little, because I don't like to just go out and tell people stuff that I myself haven't tried, So in recent times, I bought a glucose monitor just so that I for myself can see what the normal levels are, where I am in my levels, you know what I mean? And it's something that people could do at home. It's at your local CVS. It's on Amazon. It's get a glucose monitor and check your levels. If your fasting glucose is over 100, between 100 and 125, fasting, that means you have to fast for 12 hours. You wake up in the morning and you go till about 10 o'clock from the last time you ate. And if you check that fasting glucose and it's over 100, and it's close to 100, 125, that's pre-diabetic range. And it's not anything to play with. Some people be like, oh, I can't go to the doctor. And that's something you could do yourself. It's better to know now than that become your reality and you have to live with that poking yourself every day. I grew up with a grandmother who they diagnosed her back in the day as diabetes, and she didn't have it, but then she became dependent on insulin, and I had to watch her check her blood glucose every morning and every night. It's a serious thing if you get on that side of the equation. So listen up, prevention better than cure. All right. And one thing we can rate Bob Marley for is that they took their diet seriously, and the Rastas and the 12 tribe, and they took their diet seriously. They travel with them chef. They make sure where them eat. To the Rasta, not all of them. I can't say all of them. Some still, because me hear say Capleton still take feed people on the road. But somewhere Rasta today, me have a question. Because some of the things, some of it is not giving. Growing up, thank you for this convo. All up my alley. You tap onto my pet peeve, food and nutrition. Me and supermarket read the ingredients list. Yeah, I read it all the time. We not go me picnic them read, me have my mother read. We sit on writing at the aisle. I don't care. I'll sit on right there. So if it's something new I see, me go stand up and read. So the key is if it's over a certain amount of ingredients and you can't pronounce it, it's really not that hard. Put it back. Put it back. It's not a science experiment. This is not your nutritional thesis. Put it back. All of those prepackaged food with a long thesis paper, put it back. It's really that simple. And just go right over to that produce section, the fruit and veggie section, and go make something. That's how you keep it nice and simple. That's how you keep it nice and simple. Today, what do we make? Steam some green beans, which is good for blood sugar, by the way. Steam some potato, sweet potato, right? And whatever your protein you want. Well, I'm not even gonna say whatever, but a healthy protein. And I use that. And a piece of avocado, avocado season still. So a piece of avocado. But anyway, let me go ahead and wrap up, y'all. I mean, I got too long today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody have a blessed day. Until next time, take care of yourself.